Hello to my amazing Adesuwa bakery and kitchen family. So today on the menu we have one of the most popular, most universally accepted Nigerian soup. This one is called Egusi soup and the English name is actually Melon. I'm going to run you through all the ingredients, but I want to reintroduce this very famous African soup to you. This soup is so good. And why I say it is universally accepted is the fact that everyone, regardless of where you are from, would definitely love the soup because it is a soup that is tried, tested, and trusted. The taste and everything about the soup is just top notch. So I'm going to run you through all the ingredients. We'll have some dried stockfish that has been deboned and washed. We'll have some periwinkle. We'll have salt. We'll have some dried ground Cameroon peppers. We'll have proteins. This is fried fish. We also have cow leg, well cooked. We'll have cow skin. This is also cooked. I have some smoked fish, deboned and washed. And of course, I have fresh goat meat that I will be boiling. I have some beef seasoning. I have some fish powder. And I also have crayfish powder. I have palm oil and the king of the moment, the star of the moment, which is the melon. We also have vegetable, and I'm making use of Oziza vegetable. Again, I'll run you through all the ingredients: fresh Scotch bonnet peppers, tomatoes, onion, stockfish, periwinkle, salt, Cameroon pepper, protein of your choice. Just make sure you use any protein you have readily available. This is optional. You can decide to use any protein you have readily available. So so basically these are the ingredients for this soup. Disregard the fact that you are seeing so much ingredients. For the protein, I decided to use variety because variety is the spice of life. But you see the fish powder, the crayfish powder, and your beef seasoning are super important to include to this dish. And this is one of the realest channel, the realest food blog you would actually find out there. So I want you to come with me while we just go through this process together. So this is me putting my fresh goat meat in my pressure pot. I included some beef seasoning and some salt for taste, and I also have a blend of Scotch bonnet peppers, some onion, and a little bit of ginger just for flavor and just to season this to perfection. Now the reason why I'm making use of a pressure pot, this is not compulsory. You can make use of any pot you have, but I like to make my protein very soft and I like to cut down on my cooking time. So if you know well, you know that pressure pots pretty much softens your protein quickly. So that is why I made use of this. So when I was like 75% through the process, I included my cow skin and my cow leg because, like I said before, I usually like my protein very, very soft. So when the goat meat was way over halfway cooked, I decided to include the other of the protein so that I can soften everything completely. Now this is me trying to cover my pot to make sure that everything is well cooked. And like I said before, you do not have to make use of a pressure pot. The essence of this is just to cut down on my cooking time. I transferred that to another burner so we can get started with our egusi soup. Now the first thing you want to do is to add in palm oil. And of course, I just needed to run you through the ingredient. This palm oil will not be enough for the quantity of egusi I have, so I added more. Like I said before, this is one of the realest food blogs you would find. I do not, edit processes. I show you everything that you need to know, and that is why you should subscribe to my channel. Now, this is my melon egusi, and I am adding in some water to, just make it a paste. Now, one thing you need to know when you're doing this is to make sure that you adjust your water according to the consistency you want. If you want a very thick consistency, you have to make sure that you're adding little water. And like I usually recommend, when you're making the soup or when you're making any food that requires you adding water, it is better you add your water in batches. Don't just add in all the water so that you do not have a consistency that you don't, desire. So for me, I don't like my egusi soup too thick, and that is why I added water to give me this consistency, which is the perfect one I want. Now the palm oil is hot enough. You don't have to bleach it, just make sure that it is hot. And you're going to add in your melon that you've made a paste out of by adding water and mixing it So you're just going to add it in balls like this so that you can have lumps. Well, like I said before, you have to do this according to your preference. For me, I don't like it so thick. If you like it so thick, add little water so that you can have the lumpy egusi. It's just that simple, and this is all that it requires for you to have a very lumpy egusi or a not so very lumpy egusi. So I'm just going to add this in bowls, and as soon as I have added everything that I have in my bowl, I'm just going to make sure that I cover it and allow this to fry for some time. I said this before. I said this is one of the realest food blog you can find out there. I will not take you through a process that I did not go through, and I'm not going to. It is unfiltered. It is as real as it gets. So I checked at this point, and it wasn't as crispy as I would want it, because one thing that I used to take cognizance of when I am cooking is the fact that I want it the way I want it. I want it adjusted to my preference and how I like it. So I checked at this point, and it wasn't crispy enough, if that's the word to use. Well, it wasn't crispy enough, so I covered it. I checked on the meat. I transferred it to another burner earlier on. I said this, so I checked, and it was just perfectly what I want. So now I'm going back to check my egusi, and I think that this is the perfect consistency that I want. Now, if you check this properly, you will notice that it is frying beautifully and it is not getting burnt. That is because you have to make use of medium heat. Medium heat is important so it doesn't get burnt. You can see that crisp. This is what I personally want. So if you want it crispier, you just have to leave it for some more time. But like I said before, make sure that you are making use of medium heat. So as soon as I have checked now, this is the perfect consistency. Now I've brought my Scotch bonnet, some tomatoes, some onions to a blend, the one I showed you earlier on. So I'm adding that in at this point. Now you're going to give this a very good mix. Make sure that you combine the peppers, the blend of pepper and the egusi very well. So as soon as you've combined it, you're just going to cover. Do not season at this point. Just cover and allow everything to cook together. So after about 10 minutes, you check on your soup. Remember, it's medium heat. You are going to just add in your meat stock and all your protein, the thick ones, not the fish. You're just going to add this into your soup. Still, you don't have to season yet. The reason why you don't have to season yet is that you want to add in your stock, you want to add in your meat, you want to taste and see if you need to add in more salt, which I don't like to make use of. As far as I've boiled my protein with salt, I do not add salt to my soup. So at this point, when you've tasted and you've seen that, you need to adjust, you can now put your seasoning, because if you put your seasoning at first, it might turn out to be too salty. So make sure that you've added your meat stock and your meat into your soup before you season. Now this is me adding in a bit of fish seasoning, and I'm going to proceed to add in my Cameroon pepper. This basically is optional. It is just for heat. If you followed my channel for a while, you'll know that I like my food very spicy. So if you do not like spicy food, you might want to skip that process. So at this point, you're just going to give it a good mix, and you're going to taste to be sure that your seasoning is perfect. So make sure that you keep tasting your soup until you get the perfect seasoning. But I advise that you don't go in with too much salt, because this soup does not require salt. Any little salt, it turns out that you've added too much, and at the end of the day, you might not be able to take it. I remember when I just started learning how to cook, I had that problem. So I don't want you to have that problem. Make sure that you are very minimal with salt. As a matter of fact, if you've boiled your protein with salt, I do not think that it requires any more salt. And also remember healthy living, so please always cut down on your salt. Now I'm adding in my washed stock fish. This is optional. Like I said before, make use of any protein you have at your disposal. Personally, I add this, so I decided to use it. If you have it, fine. If you don't, you can skip this process. So I added my stock fish and my dried smoked fish into my soup, and I just gave this a good mix. Combine properly. It is important that you mix. Always mix at intervals so that your soup doesn't get burnt and everything incorporates properly. Thereafter, you're just going to cover your pot and allow that to cook for about 5 to 7 minutes, not too long. Now the oil is coming up. It's telling us that our soup is getting ready, So I'm going to add in my crayfish powder at this point, and I'm also going to add in my fish powder. People, you need to understand that crayfish powder and fish powder are usually towards the end of your soup. You just need to understand this should be added towards the end of your soup because they are basically things to give it the flavor, and you don't want to overcook it in your soup. So now I'm going to add in my periwinkle. If you know this periwinkle, where you know they are always very light, so also this should be towards when you're adding in your vegetable towards the end of the soup, like I am doing. So I'm adding in my periwinkle and crayfish powder, fish powder, all of those almost at the same time. So at this point, I'm just going to give a good mix. Make sure that you combine everything properly. Everything is well incorporated, and everything is balanced. Basically, just make sure that you mix properly and everything is well incorporated and balanced. And it is at this point you are just going to proceed to the next step, which is adding in your vegetables. You can actually make use of any vegetable that you like. For this soup, there are no rules. If you have pumpkin, you can make use of it. If you like bitter leaf, use it. If you like spinach, use it. Any vegetable at all, water leaf, you can just use any one you have. There are no rules. So, and of course, when you add your vegetable, it's about time. You just know that your soup is pretty much ready. So you're just going to steam that for about 2 minutes, and look at this pot of goodness. This was very, very, very tasty. And I really recommend that if you're making egusi soup, you should save this video, you should like this video and share it with your friends, because this soup was very tasty. Made this for guests, and everyone who had the soup absolutely loved it because it was amazing, just like Adesuwa is amazing. And if you have watched this video up till this moment, I just want to say thank you so much for watching my video, for encouraging me. Please do not forget to drop me a comment, to hit the like button, to subscribe to my channel, and also turn on notification so that when I drop you some more interesting recipe, easy to make, simple, yummy recipes, you'll be the first to get that notification and you'll be the first to watch it. Thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate you, and I am sending you a very tight hug. Please let me know in the comment section where you're commenting from, where you're watching from, so that I can send you a shout out. Thank you. My name remains Adesuwa. Until my next video, guys. Bye for now.